This video is for guitarists who are learning about vibrato. Like most musical terms, vibrato is based on an Italian word, vibrare, which means to vibrate. Vibrato is normally defined as a slight, steady, pulsating variation in pitch. It is a subtle, rapid, and regular fluctuation in the pitch of a note. Slightly sharp, slightly flat, slightly sharp, slightly flat. On the guitar, it is caused by a shaking movement of the left hand. Vibrato is well known and easily heard as a vocal effect, or articulation. The vibrato centers on one specific pitch, called the fundamental. The vibrato gives extra life to a note, especially one that is being sustained. Before we go any further learning about what vibrato is, let's talk about what it is not. Vibrato is not tremolo. Although the terms are often used interchangeably and are often confused, tremolo is a fast repetition of a note, like a stereotypical line played on a mandolin. On the guitar, tremolo is often achieved electronically. By varying the volume of the note or chord in a steady pulsating manner with an automatic volume control. This is achieved with an effects pedal, commonly referred to as a stomp box. Any type of guitar vibrato is a back and forth or up and down shaking movement of the hand. The first type of vibrato we will discuss is called classical vibrato, or violin vibrato. It produces a slight and subtle effect like someone singing. Many guitar players avoid or discount this type of vibrato as not being very effective or suited very well to the electric guitar. I don't recommend this type of thinking, because there are a lot of great players who could not live without the subtle and classical vibrato. You can see here I am gently shifting the position of my hand back and forth in a straight line. Alternating the directions of my shake, heading towards the top of the guitar and then the bottom of the guitar. Here I am playing a good old C6 arpeggio without vibrato. Check out the contrast when I add the classical vibrato to the notes of the C6 chord. It makes this simple little lick sound professional and lifelike. Any competent guitarist thinks of classical vibrato as an important tool. Next is the up and down vibrato associated with blues and rock and roll guitar playing. I have heard it called whole hand vibrato or whole arm vibrato, but I prefer the term finger vibrato. The important part about finger vibrato is that the note goes slightly sharp and then slightly flat, all around the correct pitch, the fundamental tone. The amount of vibrato, the width or the distance covered in your shake, determines the type of vibrato and the musical effect you are going to achieve. If your shake, the regular up and down pulsations and movements of your hand, cover a lot of distance, that is called a wide vibrato. Some players like to think of their hand as sort of a counterweight that adopts a pendulum-like motion and produces the vibrato automatically. You may find it helpful to think of your left hand as the wing of a small bird. That wing is rapidly but evenly fluttering back and forth. Do not attempt to play the vibrato by shaking the guitar and using the weight of the guitar to produce up and down movements. It's just plain wrong and doesn't sound good. People who do that often sound like amateurs. If the shaking of your hand covers a shorter or smaller distance, that is called a tight vibrato and produces a different musical effect. Again, I would direct you to think of your hand and the motion it makes similar to the motion of a hummingbird's wing. In blues and rock and roll, bending and vibrato are inseparable. If you bend a note, you must bend to a specific pitch. You must bend in tune, either a half step or whole step above the pitch you're starting on. If a note is bent and a nice even vibrato is not applied to that note, it will sound sour and out of tune. You must surround the fundamental pitch with a shaking of the hand, slightly sharp, slightly flat, slightly sharp, slightly flat. You must surround that fundamental tone with a fluid and controlled shake of the fretting hand. Vibrato can be fast or slow, with the speed of the vibrato quite often being influenced by the tempo of the music. A fast vibrato is exciting and hot. A wide and slow vibrato can sound relaxed and pleasing in a lazy and peaceful sort of way. Any type of articulation or special effect is a highly personal thing. All players have their own idiosyncrasies and habits when bending and performing vibrato. So the players you admire must be copied and studied. The great B.B. King was often associated with a beautiful vibrato. When I saw him play, I noticed he removed his entire hand from the neck of the guitar except for the actual finger performing the vibrato. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. When I saw Eric Clapton play, he did the opposite thing and started grabbing the guitar a little harder with his thumb and his left hand. It's entirely up to you. It takes a lot of experimentation and practice. Vibrato is an advanced technique, a tricky articulation that cannot be learned quickly. It takes time to develop a nice vibrato. It is natural and almost intuitive, and it is learned by listening to your favorite players and trying to replicate the exact articulations and exact sounds they are producing. To learn a good vibrato, you need patience.